Yes, this is your daily F1 news. More importantly, this is your F1 2025 Brazilian Grand Prix preview. Get excited. Hello to everyone in the chat. We're going to get into it. We're going to be talking about the track. We've got some news coming out from Mercedes and McLaren. We're also going to be talking about our top 5 predictions. Make sure you have those ready. Put them in the chat. Who do you think is going to finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the Grand Prix? Who do you think is going to have a stinker of a weekend? Dipstick of the weekend predictions and driver of the weekend predictions. That's your job in the chat. Get those predictions together because I will be coming to those later in the show. But as always, we need to start with this fantastic circuit. Interlagos, baby. What a circuit this is. But you know, I like to start off with a little bit of a history lesson, right? I like a little bit of a history lesson. So the circuit is one of the shortest in Formula One on the Formula One calendar. It's only 2.67 miles, I think, of tarmac. And you'd be interested to know, who do you think has won more races there than anybody? I'll tell you. Alain Prost with 6 victories. Then it's Michael Schumacher on 4. Lewis Hamilton shares 3rd place with Sebastian Vettel and Carlos Reutemann, each having won 3. Michael Schumacher has most podium finishes, 10, ahead of Fernando Alonso, 8. Hamilton, once again, is 3rd in that, with Prost and Raikkonen. But here's my question to the chat. Who do you think holds the all-time amount of pole positions? Which driver holds the record amount of pole positions at Interlagos? That's a little bit of trivia. Get in the chat and tell me who you think it is. Which driver holds the most amount of pole positions in Brazil? I'll give you a minute. And also, what the other thing I want to tell you about is that this circuit is one of my absolute favourites because the laps again begin right off the bat with the tricky S-curves named after Ayrton Senna. Then it's a tricky downhill left-right chicane that merges into the long curve d'assault. Heavy braking takes place incredibly late after the 50-metre board, where drivers decelerate and turn into the cambered blind apex corner, making it easy to lock up. And then turn 10, Bico de Pato is a tricky little hairpin at the end of a sequence of punishing long bends. Another corner where it's easy to lock a wheel, run wide. It compromises the exit massively. And then the last notable corner is I hope I pronounce this right, Junção, turn 12. There has been races on turn 12 where world championships have been decided, wheel to wheel. The approach is downhill before a climb up to the corner itself. And it needs to be mastered because then there's an uphill blast to the finish line. It's just such an exciting circuit. And what makes it even more exciting is the unpredictability with the weather, right? I mean, last year, in 2024, Max Verstappen went from P17 to winning the race in a wet race in Brazil. It was a phenomenal drive. I mean, dare I say it, Senna-esque. 17th to winning. And what was even more interesting was, can you guess who else was on the podium that day? It was Esteban Ocon, P2, and Pierre Gasly, both in the Alpine, P3. Absolutely crazy scenes. And that took Alpine, by the way, from P8 in the championship to P6. That big point scoring weekend in Brazil. And that's why we love Brazil. Like Sao Paulo, baby. It's so unpredictable, the weather. And the weather forecast for this weekend is looking pretty sketchy. Rain for the sprint race. Rain for sprint qualifying. And there is probably a 40% chance of rain during the race. And that is going to open this race up to some very interesting predictions for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hey, Drip. God, you were the first in there today, Drip. Hey, Kyle. Hey, Gemma. Kyle says, welcome distraction to the training class I'm in. You're joking. You've got your earbud in. Brilliant. Residential building inspection, continuing education class. Love that. That's so funny. So I'm going to tell you. So my question at the beginning of the stream, I said, who do you think holds the most amount of poles at Interlagos? It is the legendary Ayrton Senna, undisputed 6 pole positions in Brazil. It's such a great circuit. The weather plays a huge part. It's fast. There's places to overtake. It is just great. Hey, DT, nice to see you in the chat. It is just a great circuit. It's a great circuit, which, as you can tell, I'm very excited, and we will be streaming for all of it. FP1, sprint qualifying, sprint race, race qualifying, and the race. We'll be doing the whole darn lot with live timing. So that's the circuit. I want to go on to what's been going on in the news today. So Toto Wolff, Gemma's favourite, has been saying that Toto Wolff is confident of Mercedes' rebound in Brazil after Ferrari and Red Bull are battling for P2. So basically, Wolff insists that Mercedes are going to be able to strike back in Brazil. It's a great track for Mercedes, apparently, even though the Mercedes car only really works in cool, dry conditions, where Brazil looks like it could be a wet race. But if it stays dry, the temperature could be around 18, 19 degrees, actually. So he's right. It could be a good track for Mercedes if the weather permits. And what he said was, he wants to put the tough weekends behind him for Mercedes. He's heading into the 4 final rounds of 2025 season. Obviously, Mercedes sit 3rd in the Constructors, just 1 point behind Ferrari. But Toto wants to get P2. 4 races to go, this is what he said. 4 races to go, just 1 point now separate ourselves and Ferrari, with Red Bull only 9 further back. We've had a couple of tough weekends, but we are going to be in the fight for P2. Each one of these 4 events is going to be vital in the battle for 2nd in the Constructors. And whilst our advantage over our rivals disappeared across Austin and Mexico, we will strike back in Brazil. Ooh, that is fighting talk. But which driver is he talking about? Right? He's going to strike back in Brazil, but which driver? Because, you know, Kimi Antonelli did a pretty good job, didn't he, in Mexico City, of keeping George Russell behind him. Kimi Antonelli's got quicker. He has got quicker. Or has it been since George Russell signed his contract that George Russell has got slower? I'm unsure. But Wolff is confident that Mercedes will be able to do something at Brazil. But what do you think? Because I'm telling you this because obviously I'm asking you to give me your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 predictions for the race and dips of the weekend, and also your driver of the weekend. Yeah, so this is what Wolff is saying. I want to hear what you have to say about that. Do you agree with him? Is this going to be a good circuit for Mercedes? I do agree with him. I think it could be a good circuit for Mercedes if it doesn't rain. If it rains, I think it's going to be problematic for Mercedes. I do. And what they're doing is actually Pirelli are bringing compounds 2, 3, and 4, which means that Sao Paulo, Interlagos, is normally a 2-stop strategy circuit. It seems to do well. But in this case, there is an argument that 1 stop will be on the cards, which is interesting because normally it's a 2-stop strategy. So 1-stop strategy could work at Interlagos, and will that be good for George? Maybe. And George, actually, Carl, you're right. George has had some pretty decent results here. He got his first ever Grand Prix win in Brazil for Mercedes. It was his first ever Grand Prix win. He likes Sao Paulo. He does. Yeah, Strip. Will you answer my question? Senna. So who had the most poles? Yeah, Senna. Senna, undisputed. 6 poles in Brazil. I mean, it's his home circuit. And obviously Senna being my favourite driver of all time. But yeah, But Lewis Hamilton's done well, though, the best of the rest. Like, you know, out of the current drivers on the grid, he's had the third most amount of poles and the third most amount of wins. So it's a great track for Hamilton. And don't forget, Hamilton is pretty darn good in the wet weather, and so is Max Verstappen. And don't you forget, Lance Stroll's pretty good in the wet as well. Just saying that to wind you up. But yeah, so it's looking like it could be a wet race for the sprint race, and there is probably a 40% chance of rain for the Grand Prix. So that's what Toto's been saying. But what everyone wants to know is, what do we feel, or what do McLaren even feel about their drivers? Well, Zak Brown has been talking, and I think it's good because he needed to, I think, clear the air for his drivers of where do McLaren really sit with both of their drivers winning, you know, attempting to fight it out for the World Drivers' Championship. So Zak Brown has said quite a lot, and I think it's actually really interesting. And I want to come to some of his comments. So this is what happened on the F1's Beyond the Grid podcast. Like, Zak Brown believed that sticking to the team's principles of fairness between its drivers mattered much more than the final result in the championship. So he was asked, well, how would you feel if Verstappen came through and won? And Zak Brown said, I'd shake his hand and say, job well done. I want to make sure if we don't win, he beats us. We don't beat ourselves. That's important. And what did he mean about that? He was talking about McLaren in 2007, where Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton's debut season, both drivers finished on the same amount of points, yet they both get beaten by Kimi Raikkonen by 1 point. And so what Zach says, you know, we're aware of 2007, but you know, we've got two drivers who want to win the World Championship, and we're playing offense. We're not playing defense. I'd rather go, we did the best we can on our drivers tied in points and the other beat us by 1, than the alternative, which is telling one of our drivers right now, when they are 1 point away from each other, I know you have a dream to win the World Championship, but we flip the coin and you don't get to do it this year. Forget it. That's not how we go racing. In the event that 2007 happens again, I'd rather that outcome than all the outcomes by playing favourites. We will not do it. Those are very, very strong words from Zak Brown. If anybody had any confusion of how McLaren feel about Piastri and Lando fighting it out for the last 4 Grand Prix. But it reminded me of what happened, because 2007 season was a crazy season in Formula One for McLaren. Right, so let me remind you, Lewis Hamilton's debut season in the McLaren Mercedes. His teammate is Fernando Alonso, regarded as probably definitely one of the top 3 drivers on the grid. Lewis Hamilton's a phenom. He's leading the championship for a long way through the 2007 season. And then there was some shenanigans, argument that one time they made Lewis Hamilton, they held him in the pit so Fernando Alonso could get a P1 qualifying position. There was some interference in the two drivers. Hamilton felt that maybe that championship was taken away from him, and there was some interference. And what made it even more complicated was that McLaren were removed all of their World Constructor title points because they were caught in Spygate. And if you don't remember this, Spygate was that McLaren ended up in the possession from a Ferrari employee of confidential documents from Ferrari. Originally, they were acquitted, and then under further investigation, they were found to be guilty in 2007 of having confidential documents from Ferrari. They were fined $100 million and removed all of their constructors' titles, so all of their points. So they finished last, effectively. But the drivers' points were allowed to stay, which I also thought was kind of a weird decision. Because if you're found guilty of what ultimately is cheating from a constructor's point of view by having those documents. But the driver's point, they didn't penalise the drivers. But yeah, so 2007 was the wildest time in McLaren's history. It honestly, you couldn't write it. So yeah, they were in possession. And Ron Dennis was like, well, you know, really, if you found caught with like stolen documents from a rival team and you get punished and you found guilty, say we're removing all the team's points, they didn't punish the drivers and remove their points, but they did fine McLaren $100 million. I always found that a weird outcome. And that was it for McLaren. That was their sanctions. And the next year they were able to race again. But that's what happened in 2007. And that is what, obviously, Zak Brown's not talking about that unpleasantness, but he is talking about how two drivers driving for the same team, if they had issued team orders, they could have secured the World Drivers' Championship, but they didn't, apparently. They did, though. There was interference. Ask Fernando Alonso, ask Lewis Hamilton. That's why those drivers have got this ultimate rivalry and have had since Lewis Hamilton's first year in Formula One. So 2007 is a fascinating year in Formula One history. And what Zak Brown's basically said, hey, I'll take another 2007 where neither driver wins the World Drivers' Championship, but they've battled it out fairly and Max Verstappen wins it, rather than we take control and say to one of our drivers, there's only 1 point in it, that you're not, this is not your year, son. You're not winning the World Drivers' Championship. We're telling you that now. So he's made it crystal clear. But I see what Drip's saying. He's gone, Oscar. Exactly. Because we've all been talking about it. Every person who commentates on Formula One or everyone who reacts to the news, we've all been talking about and saying it does look a little bit like McLaren have been favouring Lando Norris. But yeah, it's an interesting it's an interesting situation. But yes, get your thank you, Drip. Where are your predictions in the chat? I can't see them. I need your P1, P2, P3, P4, P5 for the race. I need your dipstick of the weekend, and I need your driver of the weekend predictions. I'm going to start with Drip's. So Drip's gone with Max Verstappen, P1, Oscar, P2, Lando, P3. Who's your P4 and P5, Drip? Let me know. And your dipstick and your driver of the weekend. Kyle's gone 1, Max Verstappen. 2, Leclerc. Oh, after his second place in Mexico City. 3, George Russell. 4, Norris. I like this predictions. 5, Hamilton. Driver of the day, Charles. Dipstick Cola Pinto. Those are pretty good. And I like the fact you've got Hamilton in there as well. We might have some synergy because it could be wet, right? We know Max Verstappen's a genius in the wet races. I mean, what he showed us in 2024, P17 to winning the race, just fantastic, just fantastic. Excuse me, Gemma, where are your predictions? DT, where are your predictions? Get them in. Oh, Kyle's Gasly. You're putting a Gasly in a P6. If Gasly gets P6, he deserves driver of the weekend. Don't you think? If Gasly gets P6, and we're not forgetting last year where Gasly got a podium in the Alpine P3 and Esteban Ocon finished P2 in the Alpine. Does that play into your predictions for Brazil? Because, you know, if Gasly got a P6, he's got to be in with a shout. He's got to be in with a shout for driver of the weekend. So I'm gonna start with mine. I'm gonna start with my top 5. So my top 5, like I think a lot of you are gonna choose. My P1 is Max Verstappen, right? Not only is Red Bull super quick and they found balance to that car and they're still bringing upgrades. This is a circuit that's got Max Verstappen's name written all over it. The weather, even the weather, you know, Verstappen is going to love it if it rains. So yeah, I can't see past Max Verstappen for P1. Now I'm going to get controversial. My P2 prediction is oh, I don't know why it's taking so long to come on. There he is, Oscar Piastri. is my P2 prediction. And you're going to be going, why the hell are you saying Oscar Piastri P2 over Lando Norris when Lando Norris has hit this rich vein of form? It's because I think Oscar Piastri loves the wet. And if it is going to be wet, I think we're going to see a better Piastri than we are Norris. Plus the fact, I think after this bad run of form, low grip circuits, is coming to Brazil, which is going to be a good circuit for Piastri. It's going to suit his driving style. If it rains, all the better. And I have a feeling that Piastri is going to bring the fire. I know I say it all the time. I've said this for the last 4 races. I'm backing Piastri, but I think this is going to be the one. I think this is going to be the one where we see Piastri come back with a performance that beats Lando. So Oscar Piastri is my P2. P3, I'm going with the other McLaren. I'm going Lando Norris, P3. And I'm starting to basically because the big discussion, what I've already said, is it Lando? Is it Piastri? I do think Lando's going to keep it on the tarmac. I think he's going to get P3, and I think it's going to be close as well. I think Oscar's only going to beat him by a few seconds. Actually, I think it's going to be close between these two. I think this is going to be a real fight. But Lando Norris P3. Okay, I think I've changed my mind here. I'm going to change, but I'll tell you why. I'm actually going. This is going to be controversial. P4. Controversial. I'm going Lewis Hamilton. And I know you're all going to say, how can you not put Leclerc in? And I know, because Leclerc is on fire. P2 in Mexico City. He's been edging out Lewis Hamilton. But this is a Lewis track, right? The weather's going to play into it, maybe. And maybe I'm being a little bit romantic, thinking this is going to be the... Lewis Hamilton is going to beat Leclerc again at some point in this season. And I think this is a Lewis Hamilton track. And I think the weather could play into it. So I'm going Lewis Hamilton P4. I know loads of people are not going to agree with that. But I'm rooting for him. And P5 is again controversial because Leclerc's not in it. I've gone with George Russell. I've gone with George Russell P5 because this is a great track for Russell. He won his first ever race for Mercedes here back in 2021. He's pretty good in the wet. I think he's angry about Mexico City having to let Kimi Antonelli finish in front of him. And I think he's going to come back with a good, strong weekend. And I think Mercedes are going to come back with a strong weekend. He could even finish higher, if I'm honest. We could even... the reason why I said I've just changed my mind live in this stream is because I had George Russell ahead of Lewis Hamilton, but something made me change my mind. I might regret it, but those are my predictions. Verstappen P1, Oscar Piastri P2, Lando Norris P3, Lewis Hamilton P4, George Russell P5. I'm going to see if any of you agree with me. DT, great to have his predictions. He's gone P1 Max, P2 Lando, P3 Sainz. Right, hold that thought. P4 Piastri, P5 Hamilton. We're quite aligned here, apart from the wild card of Sainz that you put in there. You put driver of the weekend Alonso and dipstick Yuki. Okay, Gemma, where are your predictions? Because I'm going to come on to because of what DT just said, I'm going to bring on to who I think my driver of the weekend is. And me and DT are thinking along the same lines. So, okay, my driver of the weekend prediction is Carlos Sainz. Which is interesting because obviously DT's got a P3 for Sainz, which is brilliant. I've got Carlos Sainz in my mind down as a P6, maybe a P5 even, P5, P6. And if he does that in the Williams, I think he's going to get driver of the weekend. But Carlos Sainz for me is, I feel like he has hit this rich vein of form in the Williams. He's really found his groove, and he's beaten Alejandro Albon regularly now, isn't he? And also, I just think this is a good track for him. I think Brazil's like a home track for him in a lot of ways. So yeah, Carlos Sainz is my prediction for driver of the weekend. And let me just compare it to what you've got. So Kyle is, you see, I could be completely wrong, right? Because Kyle's gone with Charles Leclerc, and Charles Leclerc, after finishing P2 in Mexico City, finding this rich vein of form, I understand why you've chosen him. And I might be completely wrong about Hamilton sort of beating Leclerc this weekend, but I get it. And the dipstick prediction. So yeah, okay. So Carlos Sainz is on fire. Okay, now my dipstick of the prediction is different to all of yours so far. I understand choosing Yuki. It's a good one to choose. Colapinto, another good one to choose. Colapinto though is still fighting for his seat in 26. I don't know if he has another crazy bad weekend. I think he'll be playing it safe. But here's my dipstick prediction. I've gone with Esteban Ocon. Now, hear me out. I understand that he finished P2 in Brazil last year in an Alpine. Exceptional result. But I think because Ollie Behrman finished P4 and Ocon finished P9, which, by the way, is a great result for the Haas in Mexico City, I've got a feeling that Ocon is going to push too hard and DNF or something. I think that Ollie Behrman taking him to school in Mexico City is going to be eating him up. He's a senior driver, and he was at top of our driver over performance index halfway through the season. And I think that Ollie Behrman result from his teammate is going to really I think it's going to get in his head. So I might be wrong, but I do think Esteban Ocon is going to be my dipstick of the weekend prediction. Maybe I should have gone with Lance Stroll, but no, but I do. Esteban Ocon, that's what I think. That's what I think. So yeah, Esteban Ocon. But like I said, it's a strange call from me because obviously he did have a fantastic result there in 2004. So Kyle says, I think Charles is better than Lewis right now. I do. I agree. Lewis hasn't been comfortable in the Ferrari. I agree. He's getting more comfortable in the Ferrari, but when we've seen Lewis drive that Ferrari in the wet, he got driver of the weekend. He was brilliant. Yeah, I mean, it's he got driver of the weekend last time he was driving in the wet in that Ferrari. So yeah, I do think. Hang on, Drip, are you saying the dipstick of the weekend's going to be George? Is that because Drip? Is that because of his radio comments in Mexico City? Because I gave him dipstick of the weekend in Mexico City because it was very, very hard to choose a driver who's been a dipstick, and it was his radio messages that won it for me. They were hilarious. So you're going with George's dipstick of the weekend. All right, okay. Well, you might be right. I think all of your choices, from Yuki, even George, to who else did we have as dipstick? We've had Yuki. We've had Yuki Colapinto. Yeah, Yuki Colapinto and George. Yeah, I think all of those are very, very possible. And you're right, DT. Lance is pretty good in the wet. I actually think Lance Stroll is not going to have a terrible weekend. I don't think he is. I think he's going to do okay. And if it is wet, I think he'll do okay. And I think Fernando Alonso is going to do pretty well as well. Oh, Gemma, finally getting your predictions in. Gemma's gone with first, everyone's going with Max. Second, Charles Leclerc. Okay. Third, Oscar. Fourth, Hamilton. 5, George. Oh, controversial. No Lando Norris in your top 5. Dipstick Yuki. Driver of the weekend, torn between Ollie and Alonso. Ollie Behrman won driver of the weekend in Mexico City. Can he repeat another performance like that in Brazil? I mean, he could. He is on fire at the moment. Alonso, you think Alonso's going to bring the fire? You know, I'm always rooting for Alonso. I wouldn't be unhappy if Alonso got driver of the weekend. I wouldn't be unhappy with that. Gemma was making a snack. I think, isn't everyone out in the bonfire night watching the fireworks? I'm so grateful to everyone who's turned up tonight. Because it's Halloween, you know, it's not Halloween, it's bonfire night. Everyone's out there doing whatever they're doing, you know, trying, you know, celebrating, eating chocolate, toffee apples. God, I can hear the fireworks are going crazy outside my house. So if you are, by the way, if you are watching this on replay, get your predictions in the chat. I will answer them all as well. So even if you're watching this on replay, get your predictions in the chat. Top 5 positions in the race, your dipstick of the weekend, who's going to have a stinker, and your driver of the weekend. I want to see them all in the chat. I will respond to all of you. Oh yeah, look at this. I forgot. I nearly forgot. I forgot about my graphic. Little reminder, if you haven't hit the like button yet, do that, because it makes a big difference to the success of the channel. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell so you stay up to date. And apparently we've got some hype stuff going on. People are hyping videos, which is absolutely awesome. If you know how to do that, I have no idea. But if you do, hype a video, I'll be really, really grateful. Thank you very much. So yeah, Brazil, it's going to be absolutely epic. And to give you a quick reminder of how things are looking, a quick update. So the team standings right now, we know McLaren won the Constructors, done, gone. Ferrari are sat on 356 points, Mercedes are on 355 points, and Red Bull Racing are on 346 points. And there's a $40 million swing between 4th and 2nd in prize money. It's actually more than that, but roughly $40 million and a bit more swing from 4th to 2nd. So it is worth winning. And if you're 4th in Red Bull Racing, you know, 40 million is 40 million. You'd take it. So those teams are all going to take it very seriously for the last 4 races. Toto Wolff's coming out fighting. He thinks they've got a good chance in Brazil to score some good points over Ferrari. I think it's going to be hard to look past Max Verstappen though for P1, right? I just think it's going to be hard. And I think everyone in the chat agrees. I think everyone's saying that they think if anyone's got a different winner prediction, get in the chat and tell me. Because so far, I think we're all in agreement on the live stream that it's Max Verstappen. And a quick reminder, Lando Norris sits on 357 points. Oscar Piastri sits on 356 points. 1 point in it. Max Verstappen on 321 points, just 36 points behind Lando Norris. It's a sprint weekend as well. Extra 8 points up for grabs. It's good, isn't it? It's exciting. It is exciting. Yeah, extra points up for grabs. It's going to be really good. I'm really, really looking forward to the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's one of my favourites. But I think our predictions are pretty solid. Destroy Television says his P4 in Mexico might give him the confidence to push hard. Ollie is probably a good choice. For driver of the weekend, I mean, Ollie's in all the news at the minute. I mean, because of that performance in Mexico City, now, you know, he's nailed on to be Lewis Hamilton's replacement at Ferrari in 2027. He's just, Ollie Behrman's just so sort of, he's got a really likable way around him, hasn't he? Like how he comes across, he's super likable, but he's really quick. He doesn't come across like a ruthless racer. Yet, when you saw him racing Max Verstappen in Mexico City, it was like, oh, okay, Ollie. He's come to play. He's going wheel to wheel. But instead of that ruthless racer, he comes across like he's doing it with a smile on his face. Like he's almost like playing a computer game. Like he's buzzing off it. He's excited, right? Some drivers have this steely aggression. I get the feeling Ollie Behrman is like he's playing Super Mario Kart and he's loving every minute of it. He's like, this is great. It's exciting. Like a smile on his face. And I love to see that. It's different. It's different. Kyle says, in US, F1 is on ESPN, but YouTube TV has dropped Disney Station, so I'm not sure where I'm watching it from yet. Can't you get a feed from somewhere? Like, Oh, well, listen, worst case scenario, Kyle, we've got live timings and we'd have a little racetrack where you can see where people are up to. And we've got live commentary. I know it's not ideal, but if you haven't got a stream, we'll try and make it as exciting for you as possible. Yeah, or go to a friend's house. Do they show it in the pubs? If they got it in the bars, Carl, where like a sports bar will have the F1 on. Take your AirPods and you can watch it at the same time. You can watch the stream whilst we're all getting involved. That'd be really good. All right, I can see loads of you on. It's so nice to have so many watching right now. If you do me a big favour, I hate saying that. Hit a like on the video. It makes a big difference to the success of the channel. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget. So, oh no, not with volume. You can't do that. Boo. Boo. Well, look, we're going to do our best. I'll do my best to try and commentate for you to make it exciting like a radio show. You'll have the live timings on our live stream. And everyone can be getting involved in the chat at the same time. So I promise I'll do my best for you, Kyle. Drip. No, that was spelling correction. A little undecided. Drive of the weekend. Oh, Gabriel Bortoletto. I like that one. We've not seen much from him from a little bit, have we, Drip? So I like that. Sauber. We think Sauber's going to have a good weekend. The Hulkenberg, no one's picked Hulkenberg for driver of the weekend, but Bortoletto's due a result. I think that's not a bad prediction. That, Drip. I like it. I like driver of the weekend prediction for Gabriel Bortoletto because he's also in an audition right now. Not for his drive next year because we all know he's in that Audi, right? Sauber becomes Audi. He's got the drive alongside Hulkenberg, but Ferrari are big fans of Bortoletto. I talked about it in a stream earlier this week. So with Ferrari really having a question mark over both of their drivers for 2027, should they lose both drivers, Hamilton to retirement in 27, Leclerc because he wants to win a world championship and he's lost faith in the Ferrari and they've not hit their performance clauses, so he gets an exit out of his contract. Well, the number two driver, the first driver they like is Oliver Behrman, which we all know, but they also love Gabriel Bortoletto. They love him. They absolutely love him. So that is Ferrari's other option if they lose Leclerc and Hamilton in 2027. Crazy. DT, sorry, Motorsport Streams 2, someone will have it. Yeah, DT. Listen, I'm sure there's a solution. I've got to be careful what I say, but I'm sure you can find a solution. Obviously, if you can get ESPN, that's perfect. But it would nip round someone's house. But if there's another way, obviously that's brilliant to watch the F1 stream. But I will try and make it as exciting for you as possible because that's what we want to do. Great commentary, race timings, a little bit of track. We'll make it good for you, I promise. So we're going to be here tomorrow night as normal. Thursday night, which is just a normal news show, 7:30. Friday will be FP1 sprint qualifying. Saturday will be sprint race and sprint qualifying, and Sunday, baby, will be the Grand Prix. And you can join me for every single second of it, and I hope you all will. So yeah, it's going to be a good one, this one. I'm starting to doubt my own predictions though. I'm starting to like some of yours a little better than mine. But not long until we find out how we get on. So I'm going to leave it there, guys, for tonight. It is bonfire night. I'm sure lots of people are out doing the thing. If you are watching on replay, great. Still get your predictions in the chat. Your top 5 finishes for Brazil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your dipstick of the weekend. Who's having a stinker? And who do you think's going to have who's going to be a driver of the weekend? And get him in the chat. I will respond to all of you. And yeah, DT, you speak to Kyle and try and help him out how to get the to get that stream. But I'm glad you're going to be here, Will. Bit late. I'm just about to say cheerio. But Will, get him in. Get him in. I'm glad you saw the fireworks. Thanks to Will, Kyle, DT, Drip, Gemma. Who else has been with us tonight? I've not missed anyone, have I? And everyone else who's been watching in the shadows. If you are watching, I love that. You can watch, but they're a really friendly community. We're a great community. Get in the chat. Get involved. They're a lovely bunch. Very, very friendly. So yeah, I'm going to see you all tomorrow night. Oh, a little bit of a teaser. I've got something special that I'm working on, a new bit of content. I hope you like it. I'm going to drop it before the end of the Grand Prix weekend, may even be sooner. Please hit the bell notification on the channel so you don't miss it, because I think you're going to really like it. I do. Been working on it for a few days and I think you're going to really like it. All right, that's it. Thank you very much. Will, I've seen your predictions for Verstappen, Russell, Leclerc, Norris, and Antonelli. Oh, we need to talk about that. Driver of the weekend, Alonso, and Dipstick Gasly. Great predictions. I love it, Will. We're going to be talking about your predictions, though, Will. Tomorrow night, I won't forget, 7:30. I've got a few points about those. Thank you so much for watching this stream. I will see you all tomorrow night, 7:30. That's all.